DJ Payne 1.
Hello, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the CEO Sports Show for October 18th, 2025. And on today's episode, we are going to be recapping Week 8 of the college football season. Week 8! How in the world are we already at Week 8? It feels like yesterday we were in Week 1 watching the Ohio State Buckeyes take on the Texas Longhorns on that 12 o'clock game. But we are now here in Week 8, and we have so much to talk about. Before we get into talking about everything that we need to talk about, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. Make sure to tune into the other Kretschman Media shows. We're doing some really good work over here on Kretschman Media. You're going to find the rest of our shows on the homepage of this page, the CEO Sports Show. So I would greatly appreciate if you guys did that for me and checked out all the other shows. But without further ado, let's get into Week 8 of the college football season, because there's just so much to talk about. And I'm going to make this a new tradition. We are going to start off every show by talking about the best team in the country, the reigning national champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes, the best team in the country, without a shadow of a doubt, in my personal opinion. And they continue to dominate, and they continue to prove that they are the standard when it comes to college football. They are the definition of what excellence is in football at the current moment on both the NFL and college level. They are as consistent as they come. Every week, consistently dominant. Ohio State defines the word excellence. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, who have they beat? They beat a bunch of nobodies. Really? Because they beat a 5-2 Texas, a 5-2 Minnesota, a 5-2 Washington, a 5-2 Illinois. Not only did they beat them, they dominated those teams in those games. In total, combined in those 4 games, they allowed 32 points. I mean, this is one of the best defenses that we've seen over the past 5 to 10 years. And when you look at this team as a whole, I hate to use the word generational talent because people overuse that word. But this team has 3 players on this team that are generational talents. That is Jeremiah Smith. That is Caleb Downs. And that is Arvell Reese, the best linebacker in the country. No doubt about it, a top 10 pick. He is no doubt about it, a generational talent. This is the best team in college football. They have an offense that is as balanced as they come. They have a quarterback in Julian Sayin, who is top 5 in the country, no doubt about it. Julian Sayin is playing at such a high level. He's getting the ball into these playmakers' hands. They have Jeremiah Smith. They have Carnell Tate. They have Max Clare. They have Bo Jackson. They have a really damn good offensive line, and they have one of the best defenses that we've seen over the past 10 years. I don't know about you guys, but that sounds like a national champion to me. And when you look around at the rest of the country, and you could say, hey, well, look at all the other teams in the Big Ten and their schedule. Here's the thing. The reason why a lot of these teams have difficult schedules, or people look at them as difficult schedules, is because they have Ohio State on their roster, on their schedule. They have Ohio State on their schedule. Ohio State does not have Ohio State on their schedule, meaning that when you look at the other teams in the Big Ten, right? They play Ohio State. Ohio State does not play them. Let me repeat that one more time. The other teams in the Big Ten, they play Ohio State. Ohio State does not play them. That's why you look at their schedule and you say, oh, well, this is a cupcake schedule, because the rest of the Big Ten is not on Ohio State's level. That includes Indiana. That includes Oregon. That includes the team up north. That includes the entire conference. They're not on Ohio State's level. Best team in the country, and no doubt about it, do I think they're going to repeat as national champions. I get it. They just beat Wisconsin. And I get it. Wisconsin's not that good of a football team. But this is not a 1 week sample size for the Ohio State Buckeyes. It's not. This is something that we've seen all throughout the course of the season, that they have been consistently dominant. Where's the weakness on their team? Going into the season, people thought it was Julian Sayin. They were mistaken, because Julian Sayin looks like an absolute beast back there. I mean, what is he completing 80% of his passes this year? I think the number is. I mean, this guy is the perfect quarterback for this Ohio State offense. You want to know why he's perfect? Because he doesn't try to do too much. He is selective, right? He is a smart quarterback, not a conservative quarterback. He is a smart quarterback, because people may look at a quarterback and they may say, oh, he hit his running back in the flat. That's a smart play by the quarterback. Well, it's not a smart play by the quarterback if you could throw the ball down the seam and that's open and you pass that up to throw a flat. That's not smart. That's conservative. Smart is taking throwing the ball to the open receiver, making the right plays. It does not have to be a 5-yard gain on a flat. It can be a throw down the field. That could be a smart throw. And that's what Julian Sayin is doing. And this Ohio State team, they have so many weapons on this team. I look at Ohio State and I look at the rest of the teams in the country. I really like what I'm seeing from Alabama. They look like the best team in the SEC to me. But would I pick them against Ohio State? Absolutely not. I like what Indiana's doing. I think they're the second best team in the country at the current moment. You have to give them that respect. Do I think they're going to beat Ohio State? Absolutely not. I just don't see it happening. And I think a lot of people, what they're doing is they're trying to prop up these other teams. They're trying to prop up Miami. They're trying to prop up Indiana. They're trying to prop up Alabama. And why are they doing that? Because they just don't want to face the reality of the situation. That this season is Ohio State's season. For a second year in a row, Ohio State is going to win the national championship. That's just how good I feel about this team, because of all the pieces that they have. This is the most complete roster in the country. This is the best coaching staff in the country. Everything you need to be a great football team, they have it. They have an awesome quarterback. They have great receivers on the outside. They have a really damn good offensive line. They can run the ball. On defense, all three levels of the field, they're great. This is a powerhouse. And I don't think people are really seeing what type of powerhouse this is, because they're not seeing them in these big time matchups, like you see in Alabama consistently in these big time matchups, because they play in the SEC. I think if Ohio State played in the SEC, they'd be undefeated. I think that's the gap between Ohio State and everybody else in the country. So, yeah, I had to let that out about Ohio State, because they are just on an absolute heater right now, and I really feel great about that team. I really do. I want to move on to Alabama, which is the title of this video, because Alabama, to me, is the best team in the SEC. I think they're going to win the SEC this year. And when you look at what they've done so far this season, it's been flat out impressive. You win at Georgia. You win against Vanderbilt. You win at Missouri. You beat Tennessee. I mean, and you're winning in two of these games. Tennessee, you won by double digits. Vanderbilt, you won by double digits. And then the two games that you didn't win by double digits, you played at Missouri and at Georgia. And not only that, when you look at this roster, right? Offensively, they're balanced. They can run the football. They have a great quarterback. Defensively, they're good. Like, when you look at what Alabama has done so far this season after that Florida State game, it's been impressive. And I just want to run down it one more time. Alabama so far this season, they beat, at the time, a 5th-ranked Georgia team in Georgia. They beat 16th-ranked Vanderbilt. They beat 14th-ranked Missouri at Missouri. They beat Tennessee, the 11th-ranked team in the country. Won that game by 17 points. They lost the game against Florida State. It was bad. Nobody will defend it. But at the same time, I think you have to give them grace. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois last year. And what happened to them? They got to the national championship. And can we just say this? Can we just say these words out of our mouth? Kalen DeBoer is a really, really good football coach. Is he Nick Saban? No. Urban Meyer's not Nick Saban. Is Urban Meyer not a really damn good coach? He sure is. There's only one Nick Saban in college football history. And yeah, Kalen DeBoer is not that. But that doesn't mean he can't be really damn good. And a lot of people wrote him off because of what happened last season and what happened in the first game of this season. But he deserves credit for the turnaround that Alabama has had. This has not been a cupcake schedule for Alabama. I listed off the teams that they played. And when you look at their schedule going forward, it's not a cupcake schedule. They still have at South Carolina, which, yeah, they're not a good team, but they're playing them in South Carolina. They have LSU. They have Oklahoma. They have at Auburn, which, yeah, Auburn, they're not a good team. But at the same time, when you go into that game, that's like Ohio State versus Michigan. Doesn't matter what the record is. Like, I think they're going to win out. And I think they're probably going to play Texas A&M or either Georgia in the SEC championship game. And I think they're better than both of those teams. So give Alabama credit where it's due. Kalen DeBoer has been much better after that week 1 embarrassing loss to Florida State. Same thing with Ty Simpson. And I think that's the thing with Alabama that really sells me on this football team is Ty Simpson, right? Like Ty Simpson has been incredible this year. You can make a case that he's the Heisman. I mean, what team has a better resume of wins so far this season? I can't find any. And when you look at not just the team success, but the quarterback success, I think that needs to be taken into account. Now, would I pick Ty Simpson to be the Heisman at the current moment? I'm not sure if I would go there. I mean, again, if you say that he is, I don't hate that take, but I'm also not going to say for certain that he is the Heisman. I mean, when you look at what he's done so far this season, I mean, it's been impressive. I mean, you're talking about 16 touchdowns to 1 interception, 81.4 QBR, passer rating of 172.4. It's been impressive. And in the SEC, where you're every single week going up against stout competition, for him to play as well as he's played so far this season, that needs to be talked about. And Alabama, what they've done ever since that Florida State loss, it was embarrassing, but they got back on the horse and they responded in a very, very resoundingly well, if that's even a word, a great fashion is what I should say, for lack of a better word. So shout out to Alabama. I think they're the best team in the SEC, and I think they're going to see either Texas A&M or Georgia in the SEC championship. But like, I do want to look at the SEC here and talk about it for a little bit. When you look at the SEC, the 3 teams to me that stand out more than any other team in the conference, Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M. I think that the SEC championship game is going to be played between 2 of those 3 teams. That's just the way I feel at the current moment. And when you look at the 3 team schedules going forward, you'll get Texas A&M. I think that they have the most difficult remaining schedule out of all these 3 teams. They play at LSU, at Missouri, and then at Texas. So those are the 3 landmines on their schedule. And then when you look at Alabama, I think that when you look at their schedule and what they have remaining, they have versus LSU, versus Oklahoma. They're both being played in Tuscaloosa. And then they play at Auburn last week of the season. And then you look at Georgia. I think Georgia is going to wipe the floor with the rest of their SEC schedule. they have versus Florida, at Mississippi State, versus Texas. I think they win all 3 of those games. And then they have Georgia Tech at the end of the season, but that's not an SEC opponent. So if I were to give you a prediction right now on who I think the SEC championship game is going to be played between, I think it's going to be Alabama and Texas A&M. But when I look at this conference, I feel the best about Alabama. They're the team to me that I think is the safest bet. We all know the pedigree of Alabama, but we all know that the talent that they have, the veteran leadership that they have, and the coach that they have with Kalen DeBoer, who I think we need to start talking about as one of the better coaches in the country because of what he's done with Alabama so far this season and the way they've been able to bounce back. So to me, Alabama is the 3rd best team in the country at the current moment. I have Ohio State, Indiana, and then Alabama at 3. And when you look at their resume and the teams that they beat, I think it's very fair to put them there at 3rd in the country and even say that they're the best team in the SEC, even though Texas A&M is undefeated and they do deserve that respect. I would also say this, when you compare the resume of Texas A&M and Alabama, I mean, the best win that Texas A&M has is that win at Notre Dame, which I'm not trying to take that away from them, but that's also a non-conference game. When you look at Alabama's wins, I mean, you have at Georgia versus Vanderbilt, at Missouri versus Tennessee. Like, I think those 4 wins, like obviously the Notre Dame game, you do have to give Texas A&M credit for that. But like, then you look at the next 5 wins between those 2 teams, all 4 of them go to Alabama. And I think the most impressive win that both of these 2 teams have had combined is at Georgia for Alabama, right? So that's where I look at this and I say both of these teams are undefeated within the conference. So like, I don't think that Texas A&M is going to lose 2 games in the conference, right? So I think they're probably going to make the SEC championship game. But be honest with yourself. Who do you feel better about in an SEC championship game atmosphere, Alabama or Texas A&M? I'm going to go with Alabama. And that's why I think they're the best team in the SEC. And when you look at the rest of the SEC, right, because I do want to go over the standings for the conference as a whole. I'm trying to find it right now. It's all the way at the bottom here. Southeastern Conference. You have, I'm going to rank the teams like this. I go Alabama, Texas A&M. Okay, let me start from the beginning. If I'm ranking the SEC, I'm ranking it Alabama at 1, Texas A&M at 2, Georgia at 3, Ole Miss at 4, Missouri at 5, Oklahoma at 6, LSU at 7, Texas at 8. You want to know what? Let me re-rank that because I got to put Vanderbilt in there. I'm sorry. This is the last time I'm going to re-rank this. I got Alabama at 1, Texas A&M at 2, Georgia at 3, Ole Miss at 4, Vanderbilt at 5, Missouri at 6, Oklahoma at 7, LSU at 8, Texas at 9. I keep messing this up because there's so many good teams in this conference. I mean, you got to give it to the SEC. Okay, so I'm gonna put this down one more time. I apologize. I go Alabama at 1. I would go Texas A&M at 2. I would go Georgia at 3. I would then follow that up with Ole Miss at 4, Missouri at 5, Oklahoma at 6, Tennessee at 7, Vanderbilt at 8, Texas at 9, LSU at 10. Again, I don't know how great I feel about those rankings, to be 100% honest with you. That's just kind of me brainstorming because I didn't know I was going to do this as a segment. But I think that's the way I would go with this. And then you have the rest of your conference with your unranked opponents. But like, here's the thing. The SEC is the best conference in the entire country. And I'm saying this as a Big Ten fan. I prefer the Big Ten Conference over the SEC because my favorite team, the Ohio State Buckeyes, are in the Big Ten. But when you look at the SEC, I mean, what is there, like 10 ranked teams so far this year? You have Alabama, Texas A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, LSU, Tennessee. That's 10 ranked teams that you have in the SEC. And then when you look at the Big Ten, right, you have Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, USC, Nebraska. Those are the 5 teams that at the time of recording are ranked. But I don't think that's going to be the case here going forward, because I think you're looking at USC could potentially be knocked out of the top 25, and Nebraska could potentially be they're going to be knocked out of the top 25. So as a Big Ten fan, I just have to be 100% honest here and say, yeah, the SEC is a better conference at the current moment. Like the top end of the Big Ten, I think is better than the top end of the SEC, just because I think Ohio State is the best team in the country. And I think it's fair to put Indiana at number 2. But outside of that, I think you're looking at, the gap between the third team in the Big Ten and the SEC, if you know what I'm saying there, like outside of that, I would go Alabama. Like before I would get to Oregon, I would go Alabama, Texas A&M, Georgia, and I might even put Ole Miss before I get to Oregon, because Ole Miss lost today in a shootout to Georgia, but that doesn't mean that Ole Miss is a bad team. Not at all. Nobody's saying that, but they're definitely for sure to me one of the top 10 teams in the country, Ole Miss still, even though they lost to Georgia. I mean, that was a game that I didn't think they were going to win. They're playing at Georgia, and they were in control of that football game for quite some time here. So that's where I look at this and I say, yeah, the SEC it's just a better conference than the Big Ten. Now, like going forward, when you look at the future of the Big Ten Conference, maybe you're looking at a situation where some of these teams, whether it be Illinois, USC, Michigan, maybe Minnesota starts to build themselves up here a little bit. Penn State, those 5 teams. If those 5 teams can get into consistent contention and consistently being ranked, then yeah, sure, you have a shot to compete with the SEC. But when I'm looking at the SEC and all the teams that they have ranked, I think every single team that they have ranked, I'm like, no, they deserve that because they are the top 25 teams in the country. I think Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, LSU, Tennessee. All those teams are top 25 teams. They're not there because of the name of their school. They're not there for anything other than them just being a top 25 team. If you want to say maybe Texas, okay, sure. But they did beat an Oklahoma team that was like top 10 in the country and undefeated at the time that they played them. So, and not only that, like that Oklahoma team, they had some wins here that made you say like, okay, maybe they could be something. Now, granted, like in hindsight, now you're maybe looking at some of the wins that Oklahoma had and said, did you really play anybody? You know what I'm saying? Like Michigan doesn't look like the team we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year. Same thing with Auburn. But yeah, like I still think the Big Ten has a little bit of ways to go. Like I said, the top end of the conference, like I think Ohio State's not just the best team in the country, but the best program in the country. Like when we talk about over, I guess you could say Georgia in the last 5 years. I'm cool with people saying Georgia because they did go back to back. But I'm going to be honest with you, like over the past 3 years, I think Ohio State's been the better program. Like I think Ohio State right now is on a path where they're probably going to win another 2 championships in their, in the 2020s. They're going to have 3 championships, I believe, in the 2020s. Because I believe they have the best coach in the country. And it's not like this pipeline of recruiting is just going to stop. They're going to continue to bring in great players. They're going to continue to develop these guys because they have a great coaching staff that develops talent at a very high level. So that's just the way I feel about it. Big Ten, it has potential. Like I said, like when you look at some of these programs that I feel like have, real potential to build out that, middle tier of the conference, I think you're looking at USC, Michigan, Minnesota is a team with PJ Fleck that I'm starting to feel like in the next few years here can start to build a name for themselves. Depending on what UCLA does, I mean, in conference, they're 3-1. They're heading in the right direction here after they fired their coach. Illinois is a team that I think could be one of these teams that they, build out the middle tier of the Big Ten. Washington, another team like Penn State. They have teams in this conference that can make a name for themselves. But until they do it, you have to give the SEC the nod. Because, do I think Ohio State would go undefeated if they played in the SEC? I personally do think they would. But, I'm not certain of that. I'm not certain of that. If they had, let's just say Florida's schedule, for example, where they're playing, and maybe that's a bad example. I'm trying to think who had that. I think it was maybe Oklahoma that had one of the really difficult schedules in the country. If they had Oklahoma's schedule, I think they probably go undefeated, but I don't feel great about that, right? You play at Tennessee, at Alabama, versus Ole Miss at home, versus Missouri, versus LSU. That's a really damn difficult schedule. Do I think Ohio State would go undefeated? Yes, but I'm not 100% certain of that. I'm not as certain as I am about them going undefeated in their schedule. But that's kind of besides the point. The Big Ten has potential, but they got to continue to build out that middle tier, because the middle tier of the SEC and the middle tier of the Big Ten, it's not even close. I know Dave Portnoy is saying that Michigan would beat half the SEC or something crazy like that. I don't even think Michigan would beat half of the Big Ten, right? Again, as Big Ten fans, we got to be honest with ourselves. They just have a better conference. The number one team in the Big Ten is Ohio State. And when you look at their schedule, while I don't think it's as easy as some people may think it is, I mean, they still, when you look at their schedule, it's not like it's a daunting task to go undefeated. It's no, you better go undefeated. That is the expectation. And if there's anything else, then you got to have real questions about them. But that's not the case. So, yeah, that's just my little rant there. When it comes to, to me, the SEC being a better conference than the Big Ten. But, when you look around the country here, because I do want to spend some time talking about this USC Notre Dame game, because I thought it was a very interesting game. Tough game for USC. Tough game for USC. And, the thing is, when it comes to USC, USC losing this game was tough for them, because I thought that they had to beat either Notre Dame or Oregon if they wanted to get in the college football playoffs. Not only just beat one of those two teams, but if they beat both of those two teams, it's no doubt about it, guaranteed they're making the college football playoffs. But now I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, they have to beat Oregon. And if they beat Oregon, does that guarantee them a shot at a national or at a college football playoff spot? I'm not 100% ready to say that. I don't think that that's a certainty. Not as much as I did at this time last week. Now, because I just look at the country, around the country, and there's just too many good teams. There's not many great teams in the country, but there are a lot of good teams. And when I look at USC, it's a program that's heading in the right direction, right? I personally think when it comes to what they've done in prior years, their defense has gotten better. It's still something that I think the program needs to continue to strive towards, building out that defense, because I think that's the missing ingredient when it comes to Lincoln Riley and his teams. But when you talk about USC, right? Lincoln Riley is still a really damn good coach. I know it hasn't been as successful as a lot of fans wanted it to be, but this guy, there's a reason why NFL guys are trying to replicate a lot of what Lincoln Riley does. There's a reason why a lot of these quarterbacks that are in the NFL right now were being coached by Lincoln Riley. Not only that, they got seasoned by Lincoln Riley, right? And this is what I mean by that. Jalen Hurts was looked at as a 5th round pick at Alabama. Then he goes to Oklahoma, with Lincoln Riley, he puts his seasoning there and he ends up being an NFL quarterback. Kyler Murray was a guy, 1 year starter at Oklahoma. He put his seasoning on that, and look at what happened. Caleb Williams, he had him for his entire career. And you could say, well, look at what happened in the NFL. Okay, I'm not 100% out on Caleb Williams, but at the same time, Caleb Williams is a really good college quarterback. He won a Heisman. That's how good he was. Baker Mayfield was a great college quarterback. So I still believe in Lincoln Riley. I hope that he gets a national championship at USC because I love the brand of USC. College football is better when USC is relevant. And that's just the way I feel about that, right? So that's going to end it for the show tonight. I appreciate you guys for coming out. I would greatly appreciate if you guys hit that like button, subscribe, and make sure to check out the rest of the shows on the Kretschman Media Network. And until next time, I will see you guys